On today's episode of the Otaku Experience, MAPPA has had the JJK staff sign a confidentiality contract so that way they can't complain about their work conditions. Frieren Beyond Journey's End premiered on Friday to massive acclaim, and so I'm going to give my thoughts on that. And Bleach 1000 Year Blood War Part 3 is confirmed for 2024. All of that and much, much more. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Otaku Experience, the anime non-news show where we talk about the current goings-on in the anime and manga industry with our very uneducated opinions. Once again, I am your host, Israel. How you guys doing? I hope you're having a good weekend, a good Sunday. Now, I always ramble a little bit before the episode actually starts. So, regarding yesterday's episode, it was actually supposed to come out on Thursday. But as you could see, if you follow Rob on any of his social media platforms, Rob was having a really busy week last week. And so when we upload the show, I make all the show stuff. I make the description. I do the show. I edit it. I do the thumbnail, and then I send everything to Rob. And then Rob is the one who actually uploads it to the channel. So because Rob was so busy, and I'm not crucifying Rob or anything for this. I'm not mad at him. He was just super busy, had a super busy week, which is awesome. He seemed like he was doing some great stuff, especially with the Designing Hollywood podcast. And so that's really cool. But that's why the episode came out a couple days later than it normally would on the Thursday show. And so this is the Sunday episode. Hopefully this comes out on Sunday. It's also hot in here. Hold on one second. I got to turn on my fan. Anyways, it's very hot in here. But so that's what was up with the Thursday episode. And so now we're back here for the Sunday episode, and we have a super juicy story. Juicy kind of sounds like I'm ooh, this is going to be good. But it's actually a lot, I think, more, it's just kind of sad the way that these circumstances have kind of just played out in this story. So we're going to get into that here, I guess now. I mean, why waste any time? So, Studio MAPPA. Studio MAPPA is one of the biggest, anime studios of all time. Their shows, their productions are insane. Jujutsu Kaisen, they've been doing the final season of Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, things like that. And so obviously they're one of the most well-known, most popular studios. And so when you talk about MAPPA, it can get, especially when you talk ill of them or in any way that's not like, oh my gosh, MAPPA is amazing, the second coming of Christ embodied in a studio. Like, if you don't talk about them like that, people will get upset with you just because you're not, licking their freaking toes over there. But I have to be honest. I have to be real because that's what this show is. That's what I try to do. I try to read these stories and try to give my honest take on things. And I think that MAPPA is taking a major L in this story. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to move on over into this. So I can't believe we're talking about this. This was very, very sad to see. But anyways, here we go. So MAPPA has just made the Jujutsu Kaisen staff sign a confidentiality contract so that way they cannot express complaints about the production. So this broke on this Twitter account at CJOS101723 or whatever that says. I can't read that. But and we'll get into this in a second about why you're not seeing any of the major anime trades cover this. And we'll get into that in a bit. But this broke on, was it yesterday or the day before, on Twitter, and it was a massive thing because everybody was like, oh my gosh. Because one thing that we know, and we've talked about, before on the Otaku Experience, is the fact that anime production processes suck and animators are overworked, underpaid. I mean, we've been seeing it the same way with how it's really interesting how it's kind of coincided between the two markets, the American market and the Japanese market. And I'm sure there's in other markets, I know in video games too. But when it comes to movies and with anime, you have in Hollywood, you have the writers and the actors who were going on strike this year. The video game looks like there might be strikes going on there. MAPPA, or not MAPPA. Well, I mean, yes, MAPPA, but not in general. In general, just the whole anime industry as a whole, we've been seeing a bunch of stuff, including AI, including pay, but primarily in the anime fold, it's scheduling. And it's just the way that the production is unfolding, because these people are being stretched thin. These people aren't, if you don't know anything about the anime production process, I could break down the whole process, but I feel like that's not really necessarily what this is. But I'll break down kind of what you need to know for the story. And there are other great sources if you want a more in-depth explanation as to how these anime come into existence. And so basically, anime production processes are basically still copying how Hayao Miyazaki did it, in the 70s, because that came to great success. And so they've kind of just held on to that type of structure, with a little bit of adaptation here and there. I know Kyoto Animation kind of does things differently from every other studio just because they have the ability to do so, but not every studio can do that. And so we can't expect every studio to do that. What we need to expect, or what we need to petition for, is just a massive restructuring of the system, because that's the problem here. So what we have is a studio like MAPPA who is making so many anime at the same time. They're getting all these rights, and this isn't just the case for MAPPA. This is the case with so many shows. I mean, we just talked about this with Zom on last episode, where you have Studio Shaft trying to help out, but then they can't help out. They have to leave the show because they have their own stuff to do, and they can't stay working on there because they're already caught up with so many of their own things that they can't start working on someone else's problems. So every studio is kind of like that. And the bigger the studio, the more they're kind of drowning in the amount of content that they're producing, typically speaking. And so that's the case with like MAPPA, or with WIT, or with A1 Pictures Aniplex. That type of stuff is consistent in all of these major studios and every other studio to a degree. But these massive studios where they have so many rights and they have so much money that they can, get these licenses and make these shows, they're the ones that are drowning in those, because they're, the producers there are like, oh, we can do this, we can get that, we can do that. That's what the studio heads are trying to do. And then the directors and the animators and the writers even have to like try to keep up with that and try to be like, okay, we're doing this. And so something you'll see, and you'll see it if you watch anime, just anime episodes, and if you can read the names, you won't always see the same names on every single episode. Like, you'll have a core team that does anime production, like whether that's the animation, you'll always have like the director and things like that. But everyone else is kind of just being subbed out to whenever they're needed. It's like, oh, okay, so this week you're going to work on Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Then next week we have another anime that we just got the licenses for, and we got to start doing production on that. So we're going to move you over there to start, working on the layouts and the storyboards. This is not a super accurate telling, but it's kind of like a general idea. It's so hectic and crazy that these people have to live like this. And one thing you'll see is that people are often saying, as a general simple solution, oh, well, why don't you just pay the animators more? Why don't you just pay all these people more? And it's like, well, I mean, sure, but that's not going to be the ultimate help here. That's not going to be the ultimate thing. Did my TV just turn off? Hello? Okay, there we go. That's not going to be the ultimate solution. I mean, it could help a little bit, but it's not going to be, that's not what our goal is, because the goal isn't the money. The goal is how these things are like panning out. And so when you see that, that MAPPA has silenced these people, what we're seeing is that MAPPA just wants this issue to just be silent. We don't want to hear anybody talk about this. We don't want this to be a thing. We don't want, shush, 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 shush. You just get to work, get back in line, because we don't want this problem for ourselves. We don't want that bad press, right? And so that's sort of what we're seeing here. Now, the reason why I say pay won't really help is because animators in particular, which is kind of what I'll focus on mainly, because that's kind of what this story is revolving around mainly, is that animators are actually paid for the work that they turn in. They're not paid a specific rate, even though a lot of animators, are working basically a full like day shift, and even more than that, and sometimes more days a week than, not sometimes, often more days a week than, the average person in another country would. their work experience is awful, and then they only get paid for what they're able to turn in. So that incentivizes them to try to do more, so that way they get paid more. And so you can up the amount that they're getting paid, but they still have to turn in it's still not an hourly issue. It's like you get paid for turning in this frame. Once you turn in that frame, I will pay you. And then you do this frame, and then, okay, now you get a lunch break, and then you do another frame, and then I'll pay you for that. It's just not going to, that's not a feasible way to make income, especially at that level. I think that there kind of needs to just be a massive restructuring of this. So we saw after this news kind of happened that we saw animators actually start talking about it on social media, kind of putting their jobs in jeopardy, even after MAPPA said not to do anything and kind of had them sign a confidentiality contract. This is basically them risking their career by talking about this, which shows how bad this has become. So we have this tweet from Nakayashi, who says, LMAO, always embarrassing company, went to tell the staff to shut up when they saw the complaints about the situation of the production. And so that's obviously what we're talking about. So, this isn't a thing, this isn't a new thing. This is something that we've been seeing for a while, but in particular, like all year, because so many other industries have been talking about this. So I think a lot of more people have been feeling more comfortable saying, hey, this isn't working. We need more, we need more breaks. We need to have a better work environment. We need to have an easier schedule to do. And then, the studios are seeing this happen for like the entire year, and they're like, this is ridiculous. Y'all need to shut up. Y'all need to sign this contract. Y'all can't talk about this anymore. And then now the animators are actually speaking out about it. So here we have this from WooOKB, and this is an animator. If we go to this account, this is actually an animator who has worked on different things. I believe even for MAPPA is specifically who they're working for right now, but I could be wrong. I mean, most animators are freelance, so they don't really work for a specific studio. Certain people do. Like, you have core animators that work for specific studios. You have core like directors who work for specific studios. But the vast majority of people in the anime industry are basically freelance people. So this person probably has worked for MAPPA, or not probably, definitely has worked for MAPPA, but probably isn't someone who just works at MAPPA. So they said, I have nothing to lose. If you're going to sue me for complaining, I'll take it. Wow. That just shows how bad it is. It's like, if you're going to sue me, if you're going to like take me to court just because I'm complaining about this, all right, bro, because this is unacceptable. That to me just in volumes. Over here we have another one from WooOKB. If it's a mess, please come in as the director and fix it. So now it looks like they're calling out the director to do more to help with the team, because I guess the director is usually, the lead person on a project. It's kind of their vision that they're making. They're the one basically in charge, and the only one over them is the producer, because they're the one who finances everything. And so this now it looks like they're calling the director to step up, because I'm sure that the director is definitely seeing these issues taking place, and they're like, please come over here and help us. Please talk to MAPPA, please. Especially if this is one of the core directors at MAPPA. This person might have a little bit more influence, and so now they're resorting to asking for help from higher ups at MAPPA, or not necessarily higher ups, but people higher than them who have definitely seen these problems. Then we have from VFLMSPPE, who said, where I am now, it's basically a mess and I'm no good. So people want to do their best shouldn't get involved. If you want to do something random and get some money, this might be a good place. Although it's a bit of a mess, there are plenty of opportunities and notable works, so it might be good for newcomers to sell their names. But I think it's better for anyone who wants to do their best work to not get involved. That is insane. So let me break this down a little bit. So they're saying where I am now, presumably MAPPA, is and there's always the chance that none of these have to do with the MAPPA situation, but the fact that they all kind of coincided like on the same day within hours of each other, and they're all animators, it does seem to be, more than a coincidence, if you ask me. So they said, where I am now, it's basically a mess. So they're saying that the MAPPA production is a mess and I'm no good. Or, I'm not in a good spot mentally, maybe physically, because, we do hear that, these animators are not necessarily literally dying at their desks, but they're killing themselves doing this. This is not a healthy way to live. So you could definitely say that they are dying at their desk. If the vast majority of animators were actually just dying literally at their desk, I think we'd, see a much bigger change in what's going on. But it's just this unhealthy lifestyle where they're not getting a good amount of sleep. They're not getting a good amount of food to eat. They're not, getting breaks. They're not really seeing their loved ones. It's just work for, the littlest amount of money in not that great of an environment. So then they said, where I am now, it's basically a mess and I'm no good. So people who want to do their best shouldn't get involved. And they repeat this even down here. So they're saying, if you want to do your best work, don't come here. Don't work in this. Don't do this. This is not going to, this is not an environment that will create your best work. This is an environment that is a production on a schedule, and they have no intention of respecting you or respecting what your essential needs are, if that's in any contradiction with the production. They don't want you to have, you basically can't do your best work if you're constantly like, I have to turn this in or else I'm not going to get paid. I have to turn this in or I'm not going to get a break. You're not able to do your best work in that situation because doing your best work takes time. And so you can't do that if you're constantly in this situation where you're just being pounded over and over and over by the studio. And especially in a situation where, if one person tries to stand up, that one person will just be fired and will never work in the anime industry again. No studio is going to want to work with that. If you're speaking out about one studio, another studio isn't going to hire you because they're going to talk bad about us. So that's kind of how that plays out there. And so unless you can get everyone to, speak out at once, you're not going to really see anything happen. And it takes a lot for people to get to that point where they're even willing to speak out, let alone the majority of people. Although it is a bit of a mess, there are plenty of opportunities and notable works, so it might be good for newcomers who want to sell their names. This basically means, this whole phrase here means that they're saying that because it's MAPPA, there's good opportunities here, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan. There are great big names who clearly are acclaimed, who get amazing reviews and ratings and people watching them. And, it's a great thing to have on your resume. And that's kind of what they mean by sell their name. It's like, oh, you worked on Attack on Titan, the final season? Oh, you worked on Jujutsu Kaisen season 2? Oh man, they're super talented. Get them on here. Did you see how that show did? Get them on this team. That's kind of what this is saying. And so they're saying basically this is the only benefit really to even work for MAPPA, it seems like they're saying. That's really interesting. But I think it's better for people who want to do their best not to get involved, which we kind of broke that down, what they said up there earlier. Gosh, this is fascinating. Then we have another person from, another saying from VFLM SPPE. Instead of making people write a pledge to avoid complaints, could you please create an environment where they won't complain? Spitting facts, bro. This is exactly what I'm saying. Okay, sorry. I'm getting a little heated about this. Why make people sign a contract that says, oh, we're not going to complain about these horrible work environments, where what you could rather do is have people want to work for you and have people really I guess people do want to work for MAPPA, like I said before with the other quote where they were saying, there's notable work, you can sell your name off of this, stuff like that. But actually enjoying that work environment and everything like that, create an environment where they won't complain. Give them, actual breaks. Allow them to do their best work. Allow them to be creative and animators while still, being on schedule and having a production, schedule and things like that. But don't kill them over it. So they're spitting facts here. Then we have another one from VFLMSPPE. When I'm doing the original drawings, even if it's a mess on set, it's still a lot of fun. So the original drawings is the best part. So it looks like they're still saying that there are some benefits, that they're still able to have a good time, doing what they love, but it's still a mess on set, which I think is still, the focus of all of this. The pledge was something I almost wrote when I was approached by other works, when I was approached about other works by the company before, so I don't know if they're still working on the work they're currently working on. That might just be the way that Twitter's translating this. The pledge was something I almost wrote when I was, so I guess the contract was something they almost signed when they were approached about other works by the company before. Okay, so because I guess they're very talented, seem to be very sought after animator. They were approached by MAPPA for other anime in the past, and they had almost signed this confidentiality contract. But then they said, so I still don't know if they're working on the work they're currently working on. Oh, okay. So they don't know if the stuff that they were working on at the time is stuff that they're working on now. Okay. Very fascinating. And then there was one here. I got a lot of these quotes from this Reddit thing where they found these quotes. Some of these actually got deleted off of Twitter, whether MAPPA forced these people to delete them or these people deleted them of themselves because they didn't want to get in trouble or anything like that. But anyways, here's one here from Muli02, and it says, silencing the staff from talking about how atrocious the work conditions are is comically evil, and I don't care at this point because, yes, the schedule is beyond terrible. The fact that the work gets done at any level at all, or gets done at all with any level of competency is incredible. I will not compromise my health for work that won't even cover all of my rent, let alone any other expenses. My main job and my overall well-being mean more to me than the fear of being blacklisted. Wow. I think that speaks for itself. I'm actually going to read it again, and I'm not going to really give any commentary about that because that speaks for itself, but I'm going to read it one more time. Silencing the staff from talking about how atrocious the work conditions are is comically evil. I don't care at this point because, yes, the schedule is beyond terrible. The fact that work gets done at all with any level of competency is incredible. I will not compromise my health for work that won't even cover all of my rent, let alone any other expenses. My main job and my overall well-being mean more to me than the fear of being blacklisted. Wow. That's insane. And our last quote from an animator is this. Really terrible situation right now. I wish schedules could be more feasible, and I guess more feasible and humane for the staff. Wow. This is insane. This is insane. So, with all those quotes out of the way, with all those responses from the animators out of the way, we get to the question, what is the actual solution? Well, clearly from everything that those people were saying, it's not just about the pay. Yes, there was that quote here where, they say, I will not compromise my health for work that won't even cover all of my rent. So clearly they're not getting paid enough to cover their rent. But even that's, I wouldn't say the biggest issue. The biggest issue is the schedule itself. The schedule, and I think this is what I mean when I said earlier that the actual solution, I think, is just a complete restructuring of the production process in anime. This is what I mean. Anime production usually takes about 2 years, and they're basically booking it the entire time. And so, it's almost as if, say, and there's a reason why so many anime get delayed. And it's because they just simply don't have enough time to get to the episode, which is weird because usually they get like 2 years of prep time. Or not of prep time, but of total pre-production into production, that part. But it usually looks something like this. It's like, okay, pre-production happens for like a year. Then, it's like, okay, now we have like 10 months of animating. And then, we have the 3 months that the show is airing. And I believe usually an episode of anime takes about a month to make. And so that's literally just enough time to do it within the season. Because, 10 months for actual production, 3 months for actual airing. That's a total of 13 months. Usually anime, like a regular seasonal anime, airs for about 11 to 13 weeks. That's literally within that exact time frame. So they're giving these people just the bare minimum that they need to actually make this. And so that doesn't account for when, an entire team, when someone gets COVID and then that puts the entire team at risk, or when like an ending goes wrong or something, maybe, with Zom, we were saying that, these people hadn't really done this type of thing before, so they really weren't qualified at the time to do that. And then they just can't keep up with it. This type of stuff, I think, could easily just be fixed with adding, maybe not necessarily double that amount of time. I mean, I would think that would be ideal, but I know the students probably wouldn't do that. Maybe even just an extra 6 months of buffer time, just in case something happens, And so it's okay, yeah, we're going to start production here. 10 months later, we're going to hope that production is over. But then there's another 6 months in case something goes wrong before the season actually airs. And if you're done on time, great, you get a head start on the next anime, and then that anime that you just finished is on the shelf ready to go whenever you're ready to release it. That would kind of be how I would do it. And then as well, because when you extend that time period, what that can do is that can limit the amount of work that these people have to do in a day. It can shrink down their shift time. It can shift down, or it can shrink down how many days they have to work in a week. It can give them more breaks. And then while also still giving them more of the ability to do their best work. Now, when we get into the pay situation, yes, we could just be pay them more. But I think the first thing first, and ultimately better pay is, it turned off again, bro. Ultimately, bigger pay is, I would say part of the end goal. But I think the first situation that they would need to do is, I think, just a complete restructuring of how much time they're giving these people to work on this. And I think just by doing that, I think just with an extra 6 months of just in case something goes wrong, we got this. And, if the first episode ends up taking, an extra month to finish because, it's a double length episode or it's super demanding or whatever, then you still have, that extra 5 months. It's not like you're running out of time. I mean, you are, but you still have, it's not like you went from 10 months down to 8. It's okay, you went from 10 months down to 8, but still with 6 buffer months in case you can't finish everything else. I think that would kind of be my solution to that. But anyways, guys, what a story. And we will obviously be covering this as it develops. But with everything going on here with MAPPA making these animators, specifically with the Jujutsu Kaisen staff, making them sign these confidentiality contracts so that way they cannot complain about their work conditions, and then seeing what these animators are saying in response to that, seeing what they're saying about their work conditions, saying that some people are even quitting because they're literally dying at their desk. What do you think about this? How would you restructure this? What is your solution to this problem? That, once again, is not only a MAPPA problem, but the entire anime industry as a whole. What are your thoughts on this? All right, so last Friday, one of my most anticipated anime of not only the fall 2023 anime season, but of the entire year, Frieren Beyond Journey's End premiered. And oh my gosh. So first things first, the anime premiered and debuted at number 6 of all time on my anime list. As you can see, it dropped down to number 12, but it was, if we go to the top anime of all time chart on my anime list, it would have surpassed Gintama. It was up here with Attack on Titan, the final season 3 part 2, Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, Gintama, Steins Gate, and FMA Brotherhood. But the fact that it almost broke into the top 10 with just a single 2-hour premiere. Well, I guess if you go to Crunchyroll, it's in 4 episodes, but a 2-hour premiere, dude. And I will just say this. So as you can see, it's now down here. I will say this. It is well warranted. This show is phenomenal. It's fantastic. Now, I'm kind of going to break this down a little bit because, once again, it's not necessarily 2 hours, but if you air it with commercials and stuff, it's about an hour and a half. Okay. And it's fantastic. So let me just load this up because I don't even know where to begin. Let me say this. Okay. So first things first, I'll start with this. I'll start with the opening. So the opening itself it's okay. I know that I saw a lot of people actually giving hate towards Yasobi for this opening, who did it. She also did the Oshinoko opening, if you remember that, or she did Gundam Witch from Mercury season 1 opening. She did Beastar season 2 opening, and many more. But I think that a lot of people were giving her crap about this, and I'm not going to give her crap. But I can definitely see why some people wouldn't like it. I would say that I myself am kind of just on it because it doesn't really match the rest of the show, in my opinion. It almost feels as if they were like, Yasobi is super talented. She's super hot right now. We should get her for this opening. And I, as a business mindset, makes perfect sense. She just did Oshinoko, probably one of the biggest, most popular anime openings of all time. I completely understand. But watching this and contrasting this opening, like I'll just play a clip for you here. Not too much because I don't want to get copyrighted, but we'll just play a little bit here. So that's the type of show, or that's the type of opening you get. Compare that to the ending here. We get this. Now, I know what you're thinking. Israel, aren't most anime openings and endings like a contrast to each other? Like the opening is more hype and the ending is more of a ballad? Yes, but I mean in terms of their style of songs, because this is the type of show that has an amazing score. Like, listen to this score. Okay, once again, not going to play much, but this is actually my favorite moment. This scene here, this sequence where she's finding, spoilers, by the way, this sequence where she's trying to find the, nothing major happens, kind of just everything you expected in the first synopsis, I guess, happens. But, spoilers nonetheless, so go watch it. But where she's trying to find the, what are they called? They're called like blue petal weed or something like that, blue rose weed or something like that. My kind of stuff. Anyways, but she's trying to find that to like put up against this statue of Himmel here. And like this statue. So she cleans it and she's like, I want to put the petals here. So then it like does these flashbacks where it's kind of non-linear storytelling, and it kind of flashes back here where we see when he's actually telling her about these flowers, which inspires why she wants to put them at his statue now that he's dead. And she sees it fall. And then, she goes up. And then this scene happens. She goes up and it immediately cuts. The cinematography in the show is fantastic, by the way. But going here, this piece of music, like, made me cry. Like, this is the type of music that I'm already forgetting what we're talking about because I just love it so much. But we're talking about why, in my opinion, I think the opening doesn't work. Okay. So this is the score that we get for this. So as you can hear, super mystical orchestra with like a choir. It feels almost like Lord of the Rings a little bit. It's almost like, it's mystical fantasy. Compare that again to the opening here. Like, to me, it feels almost inconsistent with everything else that the show is. I think if this song were just with a different show, I think it would be great. But pairing it with Frieren, to me, it was a little strange. Now, that's like my only negative thing about the show. Everything else is fantastic. So, obviously, we covered what might be my like favorite 5 minutes in an anime of the year. This might even be my favorite episode, like my favorite anime episode of the year. It's fantastic, but this show is everything that I wanted it to be. It's everything that I thought it was going to be. It's that emotional, introspective, you're just watching it and you're just like, and you're just watching it. And there's this amazing scene in the 4th episode with Frieren and Fern as they're watching this sunrise on New Year's. And it's interesting because it's almost like she doesn't understand, because Frieren is like 1,000 years old. And so she doesn't really understand, I guess, more of the smaller things. So she's watching this sunrise happen and she's like not like all that impressed with it. She's like, yeah, it's certainly pretty, but it wasn't worth waking up for, and then she talks to Fern about it and Fern's like awestruck. She's like, this is like so beautiful. And then then they kind of make it a little bit worthwhile because they're able to be like, the interesting part is that Frieren was like, even though like the site itself wasn't worth it, the fact that I wouldn't have been able to see it on my own makes it special. Because Frieren has a very hard time waking up in the morning. She's like all of us. And so Fern has to wake her up every morning. And so Frieren would have missed it had Fern not been with her. And it was just that like little conversation where I was like, oh my gosh, this show is so deep. I love it. Obviously the animation, fantastic. We saw all of that from the trailers. I'm going to try to be picky with what I show, mainly because of copyright. If I show too much, we've talked about this before, how studios are. It's amazing. I'm holding out for Arknights before I make a decision, but this might be my anime of the year. After 4 episodes, I mean, unless like the next like 12 or like middies, but I don't really see that happening. The worst that this show got, I think, was episode 3, and it was just really good. That's the worst it got. Every other episode was fan-freaking-tastic, was phenomenal. I loved it. That's really like it. I mean, everything else would just be me just like being like, oh my gosh, it's so good. I love it. And then just me saying that for like 30 minutes straight. So I'm not going to really, I guess talk about it all that much other than I love it. Go watch it. It's amazing. It might be anime of the year. Go check it out. It deserves the this placement that it has up here. And honestly, usually when new shows get like put up here into like the top 50, I'm like, come on guys, don't put that up there. This is it. Because usually it's like recency bias. People are just like, oh my gosh, it's a new show and it made me cry. Top 2 show of all time. And it's like, okay, whatever. The storytelling, the animation, the score, everything is like perfect about this show. And so I totally understand. I totally get it. And for once, I'm with them. I don't rate shows number wise, but if I did, it'd be between like a 9 and a 10. But I don't want to do that as well because the show's not over. So that being said, guys, have you seen Frieren? If not, have I at least interested you in seeing Frieren? It's amazing. There's 4 episodes waiting for you to watch right now. Oh my gosh. But anyways, if you did, hop into the comments below and let me know, what are your thoughts on it? All right, so Bleach 1000 Year Blood War Part 2 has ended. I believe it ended on Friday or Saturday. And it ended with a double-length finale. And so that was a lot of fun. A lot of people are loving it. I have not had a chance to finish it just yet, but I do love it. I don't think it's as good as Part 1 of 1000 Year Blood War, but I still think it's fantastic. So that being said, it's not over. They announced, when Bleach 1000 Year Blood War was being done, that it was going to be in 4 parts and 4 different cores. So the first core we got back in fall 2022, the second core we got in summer 2023, and the next core has officially been announced for 2024, which I guess we kind of assumed, but I have like an educated guess as to when I actually think it's going to be. But they say this on my anime list. The 13th and final episode of Bleach 1000 Year Blood War: The Separation television anime announced on Sunday that the third part of the anime series, subtitled Sokokutan, is set to premiere in 2024 on TV Tokyo. The official website also revealed an announcement promo and teaser visual pictures. So obviously we have that here. Produced by Parrot, the first part and the second part aired in fall 2022 and summer 2023, respectively. Hulu simulcast the anime series in the US and subsequently streamed an English dub. Disney Plus streamed the anime worldwide. The anime series will air in 4 split cores. And then they talk about how it's, what it's adapted from. And is this a trailer here? A little announcement thing? Very cool. Very exciting. So here's my educated guess as to when this is. The TV turned off again. Here's my educated guess as to when this is actually going to be dropping. So because they skipped 2 seasons between the first core and the second core, I think they're going to do the same thing here. Obviously, it's not coming out in fall because we would have already known. I don't think it's coming out in winter because I think that they probably would have announced it already. I think it's coming out in spring next year. I think they're going to skip 2 seasons again. So that would be fall 2022, summer 2023, spring 2024, and then that would take it all the way to winter 2025 for the final part, which is a 3-year-long season. Oh my gosh, no! So maybe they'll actually end it in fall next year as well. Maybe they could do 2 cores then. I don't really know, but either way, spring is my educated guess for this. I don't think they're going to wait a year, but I don't think that winter is when it's going to be coming out either because of how big this production is. And as we just talked about with the whole anime production process with the Jujutsu Kaisen and MAPPA story just then, I think we kind of understand that it's probably at this caliber, at this level, we're probably not going to get it until about spring, which is fine. As long as it's at the quality that it is, take your time and make it, and it'll be fantastic. But that being said, guys, have you seen the finale of Bleach Thousand Year Blood War Part 2? What were your thoughts on it? And are you excited for the third part? And do you agree with me that it's going to be coming out in spring? Maybe, maybe not. What are your thoughts on this? All right, and after many weeks of not having it, we finally have the Goofy Woofy anime community back. Let's go. All right, so we have, first things first, it's the fall spooky season. Hello. And so we have this from Crunchyroll. Actually is going to be, treating fans to some different horror-themed anime on their service. So this comes to us from CBR. Crunchyroll celebrates Halloween with free anime titles. Popular streaming platform Crunchyroll celebrates Halloween with free supernatural and horror-themed anime this October. Crunchyroll announced that it will that will offer a carefully selected collection of spooky entertainment. These programs will be running from October 1st all the way to Halloween, so that's starting today. This service will be free to any member with a basic account on their platform. The announcement follows Crunchyroll's established tradition of providing ad-free supported content, but with an exclusive Halloween twist. This collection promises a wide range of titles featuring monsters, ghosts, ghouls, and more from different eras with unique creative styles, courtesy of various anime studios. The collection consists of anime from the last 2 decades, with Hell's Paradise, a breakout hit from the spring 2023 anime season, being its newest addition. That's pretty fun. I always say this, spooky anime, we kind of have a lack of it. We kind of have a deficit of it. And so this is very nice that they're doing this because I like to watch my spooky anime in spooky season. So then we have another story, and that is this. Limited edition Pikachu Pokemon card sparks mayhem at Van Gogh Museum. Footage reveals chaos at the Van Gogh Museum exhibition in the Netherlands as a limited edition Pikachu card attracts scalpers. So here's the card in question. And here's a video of what happened. Oh, yes! My favorite, loading. Y'all chill out. Anyways, this is ridiculous. According to a video by YouTuber Dr. Applesauce 2 listing for the rare Pikachu card, were attracting bids on eBay even prior to the exhibition, indicating that the prospective owners were willing to pay huge amounts for an unguaranteed item. The Van Gogh Museum was accused of not providing proper crowd control, nor accounting for the risk of online resellers. Even though the trading card was also available online, stocks at Pokemon Center quickly ran out, with the official Pokemon Twitter account using a public apology. We apologize to all the fans eagerly awaiting our Pokemon Center at Van Gogh Museum release today. The statement reads, due to overwhelming demand, all our products from this collection have sold out. We understand this is disappointing to many who were looking to our official email and social media channels for guidance on how and when to purchase. We are actively working on ways to provide more Pikachu with gray felt hat promo cards for fans shopping at the Pokemon Center in the future. Details will be released at a later date. Thank you for your understanding and continued support. # Pokemon Van Gogh Museum. This is ridiculous. I just think this is so funny. Just the fact, them running around, that's hilarious to me. And guys, all this over just like a Pikachu thing? Come on. Maybe I don't understand. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe I'm left out here. But anyways, our last Goofy Woofy story today is this. So remember Spice and Wolf, that announcement that came out, I think like 2 months ago now? Yeah, they have a special October visual featuring the one of the main characters, Hollow, here. And she's just dressed as a witch with like spooky stuff going on in the background. I just think it's pretty cute. And that's it for the Goofy Woofy anime community. What is the certified Goofy moment? Obviously, no contest. It's the Pokemon story. That was ridiculous. But anyways, there's no audience ranking because it's still in that in-between season area. We might be getting the Anime Corner one this next Friday. I know we're getting the anime trending possibly even today, which if that's the case, we'll cover on Thursday. But regardless, there's no anime ranking at all. So we're just going to hop right in to your comments or questions from last episode. All right, and we only have one comment on this episode. And this is from Vorifmin, who says, good to see anime coverage. Oh, okay, you must be new to the Burnett work. Yes, we do have the Otaku Experience where we do anime coverage. And I, as well, am glad to have you here. thank you for joining us. If you guys want to get a comment or question on, the next episode, or on this episode, of the Otaku Experience, just hop into the comments and just literally say anything, and I'll respond to it in the episode after that. All right. With all that being said, guys, that will do it for this Sunday episode of the Otaku Experience. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, nothing goes wrong this week, and I'll be able to do a show on Thursday. Hopefully, news comes out, because it's been kind of, if not for this Jujutsu Kaisen story, this week could have been kind of dry. So I'm glad that I'm not glad that that's happening, but it just, there's been like no news lately. So whether good or bad, that's what I mean. Whether good or bad, there's just been no news really. So hopefully we get some news. If you would like to keep up with me outside of the Burnett work, you can always follow me on my YouTube channel at Kingtanic. You can follow me on Instagram at Kingtanic. You can follow me on Twitter at Kingtanic Israel. You can go to the Post-Geek Singularity.com and contact everyone there. You can, get involved in the community. Also, you can sign up for memberships. That's a lot of fun because they do member chats every 2 weeks on the channel. And if you're new to the Burnett Network, consider sticking around. We have some great shows for you to watch every day, including but not limited to Robservations, Ladies of the PGS, Midnight Musings, K-Pasa PGS, Architects of Imagination, Let's Get Physical Media, and of course, the Otaku Experience. With that all being said, guys, that'll do it for me today, and I will see you all hopefully on Thursday.